Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a massive stack of research on the desk today, and honestly, this one feels personal. We are tackling a subject that is essentially a ghost in the machine of modern health.
It really is.
We're looking at a nutrient deficiency that is, for all intents and purposes, an invisible epidemic.
That's the perfect way to put it. An epidemic isn't hyperbole here. I mean, when you actually dig into the data, and we've come through everything from NHA surveys to, deep biochemical reviews, the scale is just staggering.
It's unbelievable.
We aren't talking about some obscure, far-off disease. We are talking about a fundamental biochemical gap that affects nearly half of the entire American population. The statistics suggest it's around 48% of people consuming less than the recommended daily amount of this one specific nutrient.
48%. That's a coin flip. Just think about that. Heads, you're physiologically funded for the day. Tails, you're running on empty. And looking at the case studies, the insidious part is that most people have absolutely no idea. They're just walking around tired. Maybe they're anxious. They get those annoying leg cramps at night.
Yes, the leg cramps.
And they just write it off. They think, well, I'm just getting older, or, work is stressful.
Exactly. It's the hidden culprit. That's actually how the clinical literature frames it. Because the symptoms are so nonspecific, fatigue, poor sleep, muscle twitching, they get dismissed as just the price of admission for living a modern life.
The tax you pay for being busy.
Right. But in reality, these are off for the red flashing lights on the dashboard indicating the system is running low on magnesium.
Magnesium. That is our protagonist for today. And our mission for this deep dive is to bridge that gap between the dry biochemistry and the actual daily experience. We need to explain why this is happening now. Why is this a specifically modern crisis? Why does standard allopathic medicine so often miss it? And crucially, we need to get into the specific evidence-based protocols to actually fix it. Because looking at the agricultural data, eating a salad today is demonstrably not the same as eating a salad 50 years ago.
That is such a crucial point we have to unpack. The nutrient density decline is real, and it's a huge piece of the puzzle. And we're also going to reveal why your normal blood test might essentially be gaslighting you about your actual magnesium status.
I love that section. Normal. That isn't actually normal. It's so important. But okay, let's start at the foundation. Section 1, the perfect storm. Why does modern life seem almost specifically engineered to drain us of this mineral?
Well, to understand the drain, you first have to appreciate the reservoir, what magnesium actually does.
Okay.
It isn't just a nice-to-have mineral, it is a metabolic workhorse. It is a cofactor, which means it's a helper molecule in over 300 biochemical reactions in the human body.
300.
Yeah.
That's a number we hear a lot, but let's contextualize that.
Yeah.
What are we actually talking about? What does that mean for someone's day-to-day life?
It means everything. Let's start with the most fundamental thing, energy. ATP, adenosine triphosphate.
Yeah, the powerhouse of the cell from high school biology.
Exactly. It is the molecule that powers every single thing your body does. It is the fuel. But here is the catch that many biology textbooks just gloss over. Biologically, ATP almost always exists as a complex with magnesium. It's actually MgATP.
So wait, without magnesium, the ATP molecule doesn't even work.
It's unstable. It's like having a car with a full tank of gas but no spark plug, or a battery that cannot hold a charge. The magnesium is what allows the ATP to be stable and usable. So if you don't have enough magnesium, you fundamentally don't have enough energy, period.
Wow. That puts the fatigue symptom into perspective immediately. It's not just in your head. Yeah. It's at the most basic cellular level.
It is, and it goes so far beyond just energy. It's critical for DNA and RNA synthesis, literally repairing and building your genetic code. It is essential for regulating the nervous system, for calming it down, and perhaps most visibly, it is required for maintaining a steady heart rhythm.
Okay.
Every time your heart beats, every time a muscle contracts and then relaxes, magnesium is the conductor of that orchestra. So when you are low, the machinery starts to glitch in, 300 different ways.
So if it's this non-negotiable for survival, and the body clearly prioritizes it, why are half of us running a deficit? Is it really just that we are all making terrible food choices?
That's a component for sure, but it's actually more systemic than that. We are facing what we've started calling a perfect storm of 3 convergent factors. And the first one is something most people never even think about, the agricultural shift. Soil depletion.
This is a salad issue I brought up. I was looking at the data regarding crop nutrient density over the last half century.
Yeah.
It is, it's genuinely alarming.
It is. When you analyze the nutritional data of, say, garden crops from 1950 and compare them to today, you see a reliable, measurable decline in protein, calcium, phosphorus, iron, and specifically magnesium.
How big of a decline are we talking about?
Crops grown today have anywhere from 25% to as much as 80% less magnesium compared to the very same crops grown 50 years ago.
Wait, hold on. Let's pause on that. Up to 80% less. So you're telling me that even if I'm being incredibly diligent, I'm eating my spinach, I'm eating my broccoli, I'm getting a fraction of the nutritional yield my grandparents got from the exact same bowl of food.
Correct. And the reason lies in how we farm. Modern agricultural practices prioritize NPK fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
Right.
These are the inputs that make plants grow big and grow fast and be pest resistant. They maximize the yield in terms of weight and size, which is good for business.
Good for the bottom line.
Exactly, but they don't replace the full spectrum of trace minerals in the soil. We have effectively, over decades, farmed the minerals out of the earth without putting them back.
So we're growing these beautiful, big, empty vegetables. It looks like a tomato. It weighs like a tomato. But chemically, it's a hollow shell compared to the 1950 version.
Precisely. The soil is depleted, so the plant is depleted, and therefore you are depleted. You can be a quote-unquote healthy eater by modern standards, eating whole foods, avoiding junk, and still fall short because the baseline nutritional value of the entire food supply has shifted beneath our feet.
That is just incredibly frustrating. It feels like the goalposts have been moved without anyone telling the players. And that's before we even get to the second factor, the processed food problem.
Right.
Because most people aren't just eating garden vegetables, they grew themselves.
Not at all. Factor number 2 is the standard American diet, the SAD diet, which is unfortunately a very accurate acronym. We consume a massive amount of processed food.
And the processing itself is the issue.
It is. When you refine grains like turning whole wheat into white flour to make bread or pasta or crackers, you strip away the outer layers, the bran, and the germ.
And biologically, that's where all the good stuff lives, all the nutrients.
Exactly. That's where the fiber is, that's where the B vitamins are, and that's where the magnesium is. That removal process takes away about 80% to 95% of the magnesium content. It is almost a total loss.
80 to 95%. So white flour is basically magnesium neutral. It offers you nothing on that front.
It offers you calories, and that's about it. Zero micronutrient support. And now consider this. Roughly 60% of the average American's daily calorie intake now comes from these ultra-processed foods.
60%.
So we are feeding ourselves calorie-rich but magnesium-void fuel. We are, in a very real sense, overfed and undernourished at the exact same time.
So we've got soil that's weaker than it used to be, and then we take those already weaker crops and we process the last bits of life out of them. It's a real double whammy of scarcity.
A double whammy.
Yeah.
And then comes factor number 3, the one that ties it all together, the magnesium vampire.
Stress. Of course. We know stress is bad. We hear it all the time. But physiologically, how does stress specifically target magnesium? Because people usually associate stress with cortisol or adrenaline, not with minerals.
It's a direct physiological mechanism involving what's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Think of this as your body's command center for danger.
The fight or flight system.
Exactly. When you are under stress, and it doesn't matter it's a tiger chasing you, a horrible traffic jam, or just an overflowing email inbox, your body initiates that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
And as part of that response, your cells actually dump magnesium into your bloodstream.
Why? Why would they do that?
To facilitate the action of hormones like adrenaline, it's like your body is mobilizing its resources for the battle. It uses the magnesium as ammunition to fight the stress.
Okay, that makes sense.
But here's the problem. Because it's mobilized into the blood to deal with the immediate threat, it gets sent to the kidneys. The kidneys filter it out, and urinary excretion of magnesium increases significantly. You literally pee away your magnesium when you are stressed out.
And knowing modern life, the stress never really stops. It's not a tiger for 5 minutes. It's a low-grade email and traffic and news cycle stress for 18 hours a day.
Exactly. So we are constantly leaking magnesium. And here is the truly vicious part of the cycle.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. It creates a feedback loop. We call it the stress deficiency loop. Magnesium itself acts as a physiological brake on your nervous system. It helps calm the HPA axis. It tells your body the danger has passed.
So it's the all-clear signal.
It is. So when your magnesium levels get low, your threshold for stress drops. Your brake pedal gets mushy.
So the lower your magnesium, the more stressed you feel from the same stimulus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your stress response becomes hyperactive, you become less resilient, so you get more stressed out over smaller things, which then burns through more magnesium, which in turn makes you even more susceptible to stress.
It's a positive feedback loop, but with all negative consequences.
It's a feedback loop from hell, and we see this in the data so clearly. If you have a high-stress job, you're not sleeping well, and you're eating the standard modern diet, you are virtually guaranteed to be running a magnesium deficit.
That explains so much about the feeling of modern burnout. It's not just psychological, it's a literal mineral bankruptcy.
That's a great way to put it.
But this leads to the huge question I have. If half of us are deficient, and it causes all these problems, fatigue, anxiety, cramps,
Yeah.
why isn't my doctor flagging this every single year at my physical? Why aren't alarms going off everywhere?
This is where we get into the diagnostic trap. And this is arguably the most important thing for the listener to understand about testing for magnesium. It all comes down to where magnesium actually lives in your body. We call it the 1% paradox.
The 1% paradox. Okay, unpack that for us.
So imagine all of your body's magnesium stores as a financial portfolio. 99% of your magnesium capital is tied up in long-term investments. It is stored deep inside your bones, inside your muscles, and in your soft tissues. It's structural. It's the bedrock.
Okay, 99% is locked away.
Right. Only 1%, literally one single percent, is liquid cash floating around in your blood, in your serum.
And the standard blood test, the one my doctor orders, the serum magnesium test, is only looking at that tiny 1% of liquid cash.
Exactly. And the body is incredibly smart. It prioritizes keeping that blood level stable above all else, at all costs.
Why?
Because if your blood magnesium drops too low, even for a moment, you risk immediate catastrophe, a heart arrhythmia, a seizure, or even cardiac arrest. It is a life or death metric for the body, so it defends that 1% ferociously.
So the body forces homeostasis in the blood no matter what.
Precisely. So if your dietary intake drops, if you aren't depositing enough cash into your account, the body initiates an emergency protocol. It starts robbing your bones and your muscles of their stored magnesium to keep the blood levels looking perfectly normal.
Wow, that is the gaslighting you mentioned earlier. So I go to the doctor, get a blood draw, and the doctor looks at the paper and says, hey, your magnesium is perfect. You're right in the middle of the normal range. But meanwhile, my bones and muscles are being strip mined to keep that number up.
That is exactly what happens. It's like looking at the $100 in your wallet and telling yourself you're rich, while your bank account is massively overdrawn and the bank is quietly foreclosing on your house. A patient can have normal serum blood work while being severely deficient at the cellular level where it actually matters. It's a fundamental testing fallacy.
That is. That's terrifying and also incredibly validating at the same time.
How so?
Because it means you can feel terrible, you can know something is wrong, be told you're fine by the lab coat, and actually be right. It means your symptoms are real, even if the basic test doesn't see them.
That's why clinical observation, just listening to the patient's symptoms, is often far more useful than the standard labs in this specific case. Now, there are other tests, like a red blood cell, RBC magnesium test, which looks inside the cell and gives a better picture.
But that's not the standard one.
No, it's rare. Standard medicine relies almost exclusively on serum. So you really have to become your own detective. You have to learn to listen to your body.
Okay, let's play detective then. Section 3, decoding the signals. If the blood test is unreliable, what is the body trying to tell us? What are the clues we should be looking for?
We can categorize these into the early warning signs, what I call the annoyances, and then the more advanced dangers. The early signs are the things people so often ignore or just attribute to aging.
And the most common one is muscular.
By far. The
Yeah.
cramps. The Charlie horse in the middle of the night.
Whoa, everyone knows that one.
Leg cramps, foot spasms, especially at night when the body is trying to relax. Or that annoying little eyelid twitch.
I've had that, where your eyelid just goes flutter, flutter, flutter for no reason. I always thought it was fatigue or too much caffeine.
It can be, but it's a classic sign of what we call neuromuscular hyperexcitability. Biologically, you can think of calcium and magnesium as a pair, like a gas pedal and a brake. Calcium's the gas. It tells the muscle to contract and fire. Magnesium is the brake. It tells the muscle to relax and reset.
Okay, gas and brake. Simple enough.
When you lack magnesium, the brake is gone, the calcium runs unchecked, the muscle can't fully relax, so you get these little misfires, twitches, spasms, cramps. Clinically, we call them fasciculations.
Fasciculations. It's literally the muscle firing without permission because the off switch, the magnesium's missing.
Exactly. Then you have the neurological signs. Restless leg syndrome is a big one. That creepy, crawly sensation in your legs at night that makes you feel like you just have to move them. Frequent headaches or even migraines are also very common early signs. And then there's the mental and energy side, that persistent bone-deep fatigue, even when you feel like you're getting enough sleep. The brain fog, the difficulty concentrating. It's that feeling of just wading through mud all day.
Those are the annoyances, but, I mean, if they become chronic, they sound pretty debilitating.
They are.
What happens if we ignore those signals? What are the advanced symptoms when the tank really runs dry?
When the tank runs dry, things get much more serious. We start moving into cardiovascular issues. Heart palpitations, a feeling of a skipped beat, an irregular heartbeat, or high blood pressure.
How does magnesium affect blood pressure?
Magnesium is a natural calcium channel blocker. It tells the smooth muscle in your blood vessels to relax. Without it, the vessels constrict, they tighten up, and that raises the pressure.
And I'm guessing the mental health aspect gets a lot worse, too.
Significantly worse. We see pronounced anxiety, irritability, and even clinical depression. The brain relies on magnesium to produce calming neurotransmitters like serotonin and to regulate the stress response. Without it, your mood regulation system just fractures.
And metabolically.
Long-term severe deficiency is strongly linked to type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, as well as osteoporosis. Because remember, your body is leaching that magnesium from your bones to keep your blood levels stable, weakening the entire structure over time.
It's stealing from the foundation to patch a tiny leak in the roof.
A perfect analogy. Now, I do want to flag the red flags for immediate care. We're mostly talking about chronic deficiency here, the slow burn. But if someone listening experiences severe, sustained palpitations, seizures, extreme muscle weakness, or sudden confusion, that is an acute medical emergency.
Right.
That's not a go eat some pumpkin seeds moment. That's a go to the ER right now moment.
An important distinction to make. Okay, so we know the symptoms. We know that diet and stress are the primary causes. But looking at our source stack here, there's another category of culprits we have to talk about. Section 4, hidden thieves, medications.
Yes, this is the iatrogenic factor problems that are actually caused by medical treatment. It's an area where we see a lot of confusion and a lack of awareness.
I feel like this is another area where people are completely in the dark. You take a pill to fix one problem, and you don't realize it's creating another one somewhere else.
It's the law of unintended consequences. And the biggest offender in this category is a class of drugs called proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs.
Okay, what are those?
Drugs like omeprazole Prilosec, Nexium used for acid reflux and heartburn.
Oh, those are incredibly common. I mean, millions of people take those daily, sometimes for years on end.
They do. But here's the mechanism. Magnesium, to be absorbed properly from your food, requires stomach acid. It needs that acidic environment to dissociate from the food matrix so your body can actually use it.
And PPIs.
PPIs work by shutting down that acid production. That's their job. But studies show they can reduce magnesium absorption by up to 30%. In fact, the FDA actually issued a formal warning about long-term PPI use leading to low magnesium levels, but it's rarely discussed in the exam room.
So you fix the heartburn, but you inadvertently create anxiety, insomnia, and muscle cramps because you're starving your body of this critical mineral.
Precisely. Diuretics are another huge one, often prescribed for high blood pressure. They work by forcing the kidneys to excrete more fluid to lower the pressure.
But the magnesium goes out with the bathwater.
It goes right out with the bathwater. Certain antibiotics, specifically a class called fluoroquinolones, can actually bind to magnesium in the gut and make it completely unavailable for absorption. Oral contraceptives, some chemotherapy drugs like cisplatin. The list is surprisingly long.
It's a real minefield. And what about underlying medical conditions? Are there diseases that can block absorption too?
Absolutely. Anything that affects the integrity of your gut. Crohn's disease, celiac disease. If your gut lining is inflamed or damaged, you simply aren't absorbing nutrients efficiently, magnesium included.
Makes sense.
Type 2 diabetes is a really big one, and it's another one of those vicious cycles. High blood sugar causes something called osmotic diuresis. Basically, the kidneys dump huge amounts of magnesium into the urine to try and clear out all the excess sugar. So low magnesium increases your risk for diabetes, and then having diabetes makes your magnesium even lower.
And we have to mention social factors. What about alcohol?
A massive, massive drain. Alcohol acts as a potent diuretic, and it rapidly increases magnesium excretion through the kidneys. Some studies show it can increase excretion by as much as 260% shortly after consumption. It just flushes it right out of your system.
A 260% increase in loss. That's sobering.
It is. It's one of the primary reasons hangovers feel so terrible. You are acutely mineral depleted, your nervous system is on high alert,
And then there's just getting older.
and then there's just aging. As we get older, our stomach acid production naturally declines, and our gut absorption becomes less efficient. At the same time, our kidneys tend to excrete more, so the older you get, the harder you have to work just to maintain your levels.
Okay, that is all the heavy stuff. We have painted a pretty detailed picture of the problem. The soil is poor, the food is processed, stress is at an all-time high, our meds might be stealing it, and the tests are lying to us. It sounds pretty bleak.
It can, yeah.
But this is the deep dive, and we don't leave people hanging in the problem. So let's pivot hard to the solution. Section 5, dietary optimization.
Yes. The food first philosophy is always the starting point. But first, we need to establish the baseline. The RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is about 400 to 420 milligrams for men and 310 to 320 milligrams for women.
Okay.
But it's really important for you to remember that the RDA is often just the minimum amount needed to prevent an overt acute disease like scurvy, not necessarily the optimum amount for thriving. And most people, as we said, are getting maybe 250 milligrams a day.
So we have a gap of at least 150 milligrams to fill just to hit that bare minimum baseline. How do we fill it? What are the magnesium superfoods?
The absolute powerhouse category, without a doubt, is nuts and seeds. And the king of them all, chemically speaking, is the humble pumpkin seed.
Pumpkin seeds, pepitas.
Absolutely. Just 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds, a small handful, has about 156 milligrams of magnesium.
Wow.
That is more than a third of your entire daily need in a single snack. It is incredibly nutrient dense.
That's potent.
Wow.
What else is in that top tier?
Almonds are fantastic, about 80 milligrams per ounce. Cashews, Brazil nuts are also very high on the list. Then you have your leafy greens. Spinach is a star. 1 cup of cooked spinach has around 157 milligrams.
Right up there with pumpkin seeds.
It is. Swiss chard and kale are also really good sources.
I noticed you specified cooked spinach. Does the preparation matter that much?
It does, actually. Spinach contains something called oxalic acid, which can bind to minerals and reduce their absorption. Cooking helps break that down. But more importantly, it reduces the volume so significantly, allowing you to consume a much higher density of the actual vegetable. You'd have to eat a mountain of raw spinach to get the magnesium found in just 1 cup of cooked spinach.
Right, it's a volume game. It concentrates the good stuff.
Exactly. Then we have our legumes, black beans, edamame, lima beans are all great. And whole grains, quinoa, brown rice, oatmeal, these are the staples you want to build your diet around.
And I saw on the list 2 of my absolute favorite things in the world. Dark chocolate and avocados.
Yes, the reward foods. Dark chocolate, specifically 70% cacao or higher, is surprisingly dense in magnesium. It's one of the reasons many women instinctively crave chocolate during their menstrual cycle. Magnesium levels fluctuate with hormones, and it can help with cramping.
That makes so much sense.
And avocados are a wonderful fruit source, full of healthy fats and magnesium.
So the strategy isn't that complicated. It's not about finding some rare berry in the Amazon. It's pumpkin seeds, spinach, black beans, almonds. It's accessible stuff.
It's totally accessible. The strategy is to aim for 3 to 4 servings of these specific foods every single day. That's the dietary goal. And one quick, often overlooked note on water.
Oh, right, water quality. Hard versus soft water.
Exactly. Hard water is what leaves that annoying scale on your shower head. But it's great for your body because it's full of dissolved minerals like magnesium and calcium. Soft water, or highly filtered water, like reverse osmosis water, has had all of those minerals stripped out.
So if I have a fancy RO filter under my sink because I'm worried about contaminants, which is a good thing, I'm also drinking mineral deficient or dead water.
In a mineral sense, yes. If you drink highly filtered water, it's a really good idea to consider adding trace mineral drops back in to remineralize it. Otherwise, that pure water can actually leach minerals from your own body to try and reach equilibrium.
Okay, so food is the foundation. But given the soil depletion we talked about and the high stress levels of modern life, sometimes food simply isn't enough to close that gap, especially if you're already deficient.
Right. It can be hard to play catch up with food alone.
That brings us to Section 6, the supplementation guide. And I have to say, walking down the supplement aisle is incredibly confusing. There are like 20 different kinds of magnesium on the shelf.
It is the Wild West out there, and this is so crucial for people to understand. Not all magnesium is created equal. The concept you need to know is bioavailability, which is just a fancy word for how much your body actually absorbs and can use.
And if you buy the cheapest bottle.
You are likely wasting your money and just buying yourself an expensive trip to the bathroom.
Okay, let's navigate the types. What are the good ones? And more importantly, what are the bad ones to avoid?
Let's start with the bad, or at least the less optimal. The most common form you'll find in cheap multivitamins and supplements is magnesium oxide.
Oxide. Sounds kind of industrial.
It is. It's basically magnesium bound to oxygen. It has terrible absorption. Studies suggest it's only about 4% bioavailable.
Only 4%, so 96% of it is just passing through.
It's staying in your gut. And because magnesium is an osmotic laxative, meaning it draws water into your colon, that unabsorbed 96% creates a very powerful laxative effect. That is why it causes diarrhea. It's great if you are constipated, but it is terrible if your goal is to raise your cellular magnesium levels.
So oxide is basically a laxative masquerading as a nutrient supplement.
For most people, yes. The same goes for magnesium sulfate, which is just Epsom salts. It's great for bath transdermal absorption through the skin, is real, it's relaxing, and it bypasses the gut entirely. But you do not want to take it as an oral pill unless you're preparing for a colonoscopy.
Okay, message received. Steer clear of oxide and oral sulfate for general supplementation. What then is the gold standard?
For most people, for general purposes, the go-to form is magnesium glycinate.
Glycinate. Okay, why is that one so superior?
It's what's known as a chelated form. The magnesium molecule is bound to the amino acid glycine. This is brilliant for two reasons. One, it is highly, highly absorbable because your body has active transport systems to pull in amino acids like glycine, and it pulls the magnesium along for the ride. And two, glycine itself is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It's calming.
So it's a dual action supplement.
Exactly. It's incredibly gentle on the stomach, and it's fantastic for promoting relaxation, reducing anxiety, and improving sleep.
So that's the bedrock for the stressed out, tired listener who just wants to feel better.
Yes. Magnesium glycinate is the default first-line recommendation for general health. Then you have a few more specialized forms for specific goals. For instance, magnesium threonate is fascinating.
Ratings.
The research on this is much newer. It was actually developed at MIT, and what's special about it is that it's the only form that has been shown to effectively cross the blood-brain barrier.
The blood-brain barrier. That's like the super strict bouncer that keeps unwanted things out of the brain's VIP club.
Perfect analogy. And this form has the VIP pass. It gets into the brain tissue directly. So it's the best choice for cognitive function, for memory, and especially for migraines. If your primary symptoms are neurological brain fog, memory issues, headaches, granite is absolutely worth looking into.
And what about for the heart specifically?
For that, you want magnesium taurate. That's magnesium bound to the amino acid taurine. Taurine is critically important for heart muscle function and stabilizing heart rhythm, so it's excellent for cardiovascular support and managing things like palpitations.
And what about magnesium citrate? I see that one everywhere.
Citrate is okay. It absorbs reasonably well, much better than oxide, but it still does have a mild laxative effect for some people. It's a decent middle ground if you also tend to be a little bit irregular, but for pure, gentle absorption without the bathroom risk, glycinate is superior.
Okay, so that's a fantastic breakdown. Glycinate for general use in sleep, threonate for the brain, taurate for the heart. Now, dosing protocols.
Yeah.
How much should someone take and when?
The golden rule is always start low and go slow. We are introducing a mineral that relaxes muscles, and that includes the muscles of your digestive tract. So start with just 100 to 200 milligrams, see how your stomach handles it,
And then build up from there?
and then titrate up. The target therapeutic dose for most adults who are trying to correct a deficiency is somewhere between 300 and 600 milligrams of elemental magnesium per day.
And does the timing matter?
It definitely can. If you are taking glycinate specifically for sleep, take your full dose 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed. It works wonders for sleep onset. If you're taking a larger dose, like 600 milligrams, it's best to split it. Take half in the morning and half at night. Your body just absorbs it better in smaller batches than in one giant bolus.
In any interactions, can I just take it with my morning coffee and all my other vitamins?
I would be careful with a few things. If you're on antibiotics, take them at least 2 to 3 hours apart from your magnesium, as they can bind to each other in the gut and neutralize each other. And avoid taking a high-dose calcium supplement at the exact same time as your magnesium.
Why is that?
They compete for the same absorption pathways in the gut. They're like two people trying to get through a very narrow doorway at the same time. They just crowd each other out. They work together in the body, but they compete for entry.
That's a great analogy. Okay, section 7. The so what. We've done all the chemistry and the biology, but let's talk about the real-world payoff. Why should the listener really truly care about fixing this? What is the disease prevention angle here?
Oh, the long-term implications are just profound. Let's start with cardiovascular health. We mentioned that magnesium relaxes blood vessels. It acts as a vasodilator. The data on this is really clear. For every 100 milligram increase in dietary magnesium, there is an associated 22% reduction in the risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
With 22% reduction in risk for just eating more pumpkin seeds and spinach. That is a massive return on investment for a simple habit change.
It is absolutely huge. Then look at mental health. We touched on this, but the link to serotonin production and calming the HPA axis is undeniable. Multiple studies have shown that magnesium supplementation can reduce symptoms of both anxiety and depression significantly, sometimes within just 6 weeks. It fundamentally stabilizes your mood by regulating your neurotransmitters.
And sleep architecture, I love that term. It's not just about getting more sleep, it's about the structure and quality of that sleep.
Right, it's all about the quality. Magnesium regulates GABA, which is the main brakes of the brain. It's the neurotransmitter that slows down racing thoughts and allows you to disengage. It also helps regulate melatonin production, so it improves sleep onset, how fast you fall asleep, and critically, sleep depth and duration. For people with insomnia, this is often the missing link that finally allows them to stay asleep through the night.
And what about for the millions of migraine sufferers out there? I know that could be just completely debilitating for people.
There is real evidence-based hope in the literature. A dose of 600 milligrams daily has been shown in clinical trials to reduce migraine frequency by 41%. In fact, the American Academy of Neurology actually lists high-dose magnesium as probably effective for migraine prevention. That is a very strong endorsement for a non-drug intervention.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Now, before we wrap this all up, let's quickly hit Section 8. Specific populations. Are there certain groups of people who need to pay extra attention to their magnesium status?
Yes, definitely. Athletes, first and foremost. If you are training hard and sweating a lot, you need at least 10% to 20% more magnesium than the average person. You lose a significant amount in sweat, and your metabolism is just burning through it to create all that ATP we talked about for muscle contraction.
So it's crucial for performance and recovery.
Crucial. It supports muscle recovery and helps prevent those awful post-workout cramps. Pregnancy is another critical time
For the baby's development.
for both mom and baby. Your needs increase to support fetal development, building the baby's bones and nervous system. But also, adequate magnesium has been shown to reduce the risk of preeclampsia, which is a dangerous high blood pressure condition in pregnancy, and it can really help with those terrible leg cramps that pregnant women often get.
And finally, the elderly.
Yes. Despite that natural decline in absorption we mentioned, it becomes even more critical for them. It's essential for maintaining bone density and preventing osteoporosis, and it plays a key role in protecting cognitive function and staving off age-related cognitive decline.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here, from the soil composition in 1950 all the way to the synaptic gap in the brain today. Let's bring it all home with the synthesis. What's the big picture?
If we zoom all the way out, what we're looking at is a magnesium crisis. But unlike so many other health crises, this isn't some great mystery without a solution. It is a predictable, understandable public health challenge caused directly by how we farm, how we eat, and how we live.
It's empowering in a strange way, because once you know the rules of the game, you can start to play it differently. You can stop trusting that one normal number on your blood test and start listening to your body instead.
Exactly. Listen to the cramps, listen to the fatigue, listen to the anxiety. Those are signals, not just noise. And the fix is accessible. It's not some expensive futuristic therapy. It's seeds, it's greens, and if you need it, it's high-quality targeted supplements like glycinate or threonate.
What is the timeline here? If someone listening starts today, when can they realistically expect to feel better?
That's a great question. It varies. Things like sleep quality and muscle cramps often improve very quickly, sometimes within 1 to 4 weeks. You might notice you're sleeping deeper almost immediately.
Okay, some quick wins.
But for things like mood, migraines, and cardiovascular health, you have to be patient. You're rebuilding cellular stores that may have been depleted for years, even decades. That takes time. You need to give it at least 3 to 6 months to see the full, profound benefit.
Patience is key. But the payoff is a body that actually works the way it was designed to. A nervous system that's calm, muscles that are relaxed, and a brain that has the energy to think clearly.
Precisely. It's about reclaiming your own biology from the deficits of modern life.
Well, this has been an absolute eye-opener for me, and I truly hope it has been for you listening as well. We want to thank you for joining us for this deep dive into your own health. It really does matter.
It really does. This knowledge is the first and most powerful step to feeling better.
And speaking of knowledge, we have so many more deep dives coming up on topics just like this one, so please do us a favor and do yourself a favor. Please subscribe to the channel. It truly supports the show, and it ensures you don't miss any of our future deep dives into health and science.
Yes, please subscribe. We got some fascinating topics in the pipeline, and we'd love for you to be there.
Until next time, keep asking questions and keep diving deep.
Take care.